This video is brought to you by Global Men's Wellness, your 24/7 AI health expert. No copays, waiting rooms, or awkward conversations. Just real answers whenever you need them. Visit globalmenswellness.com to try it free and get your own on-demand concierge-level wellness expert today.
Welcome to the 21st Century Man podcast.
It's great to be diving in again.
Yeah, so in each of these deep dives we do together, we're basically opening up a specific chapter from the book, The 21st Century Man, and we really explore what's inside. Think of it as like a guided tour through the source material.
Exactly. We're pulling out the key insights, the facts, the stuff you really need to know.
And today we are turning the page to chapter 86.
That's right. Chapter 86, it's titled Sex Toys. And it features insights from Dirk Bauer, who's an engineer, and also Judson Brandeis, an MD, a urologist.
Right, so expert perspectives there.
Definitely. And our mission today, for this deep dive is really to unpack the core information that this chapter presents.
We want to help you cut through maybe some confusion or stigma around the topic.
Yeah, and just understand the landscape, the science, or maybe the lack of science in some areas, as the source points out, related to these pleasure aids for men.
Now, we should say, for some of you listening, this topic might feel, and the source material actually uses this phrase, entirely foreign.
It's possible.
Maybe it's not something you've really thought much about, or perhaps you've seen stuff online, with lots of questionable claims.
Oh, yeah, plenty of those floating around.
But the data and the context that are presented in this chapter, they make it really clear this isn't some fringe topic.
Not at all. It's actually a significant part of modern culture. It's a massive global industry, and, well, it even connects with health discussions.
So let's dive right into what Chapter 86 actually reveals.
Okay, let's do it. So let's unpack what the chapter lays out. It starts by immediately putting the topic into this broader context that honestly might surprise you.
Yeah, the sheer economic scale of it all.
Exactly.
And it just hits you with these numbers that kind of make you sit up and pay attention, right?
They really do. So, according to the source, back in 2018, the global sex toy industry was valued at, get this, $25 billion.
$25 billion, that's huge.
It is, but that's just the starting point. The chapter projects that this market is expected to basically double.
Double?
Yeah, in just 8 years. They're projecting $50 billion by 2026.
Wow. Okay, when you see numbers like that, it completely reframes the whole thing, doesn't it?
Totally. It goes from being maybe this niche curiosity to, well, a major global economic force.
It's not just about personal preference anymore. It's a massive market. There's production, distribution, huge consumer engagement.
And it's not like this industry is stuck in the past either. What's really fascinating is how far these pleasure aids have actually evolved.
Right. The chapter brings up that quote attributed to Gwyneth Paltrow, I think.
Yeah, that's the one. And it captures the transformation really well. She talks about them going from floppy rubber things you hide in your bedside table.
Two beautiful works of interactive art. That quote really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. It speaks to, the advancements in design, materials, technology.
Yeah, like sophisticated electronics, body-safe materials, that kind of thing.
But also maybe a shift in perception, too. They're presented differently, maybe seen as more than just functional items.
Like they can be aesthetically pleasing, maybe even displayed openly by some people?
Right. This evolution kind of mirrors the changing cultural dialogue, at least in some circles.
However, the chapter makes a really crucial distinction right at the start.
What's that?
It highlights that while this evolution and recognition, it's widespread, especially in pop culture, the attention hasn't really been equal for everyone.
Ah, right. Okay. The source points out that these products are widely recognized, maybe even sort of normalized, especially for women.
Yeah, think about the influence of like mainstream women's magazines or TV shows like Sex and the City or even movies like 50 Shades of Grey.
Those brought pleasure aids for women right into the mainstream conversation, didn't they? Advertising, entertainment.
Exactly, but the chapter notes that male sex toys, they've received far less attention in comparison.
And that difference in attention, that probably contributes to the topic feeling, foreign or less understood for a lot of men.
Yeah, even though the core benefit is pretty universal, according to the source.
And how does the chapter frame that benefit?
It puts it quite simply, actually. It says pleasure aids bring new stimuli to routine practices.
Whether that's like solo stuff or with a partner.
Right. And they have the capacity, the source suggests, to take sensations to new and otherwise unreachable heights.
So it's about enhancing the experience adding novelty, maybe reaching levels of pleasure you just can't get otherwise.
Exactly. Through manual stimulation or intercourse alone, yeah.
And this isn't some kind of, shadowy, unregulated thing either.
No, not at all. The chapter actually details the growing infrastructure around the industry.
Which really underlines its sophistication, right?
Yeah. We're talking about dedicated research labs, big trade shows, international conventions.
Wow. That kind of infrastructure, it signals real development, investment, even a level of legitimacy.
It's definitely more than what many people might imagine when they just hear sex toy industry. It's a whole ecosystem: design, manufacturing, marketing.
A complex ecosystem.
Yeah.
And despite maybe traditional retail stores still lagging a bit in, fully embracing male-focused products.
Or just making them easy to find.
Right. The chapter notes that popularity among men is definitely on the rise.
And the source suggests that the growth of online sites has been a huge factor here. It mentions one example, like us.funfactory.com.
And that makes total sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for a topic that can still feel a bit awkward or carry stigma.
Shopping for it in person might feel weird.
Exactly. So online platforms, they offer that crucial thing: privacy.
You can research, compare, read reviews, buy stuff all from home.
Right. That accessibility, that discretion, it's probably lowered the barrier to entry for a lot of men.
And fueled exploration, yeah. The source implies that shift is really key to understanding the growth we're seeing now.
Okay, so moving on from that general landscape, the chapter then gets into some of the specific stigmas and misconceptions.
Right, it confronts them head on. And one of the biggest ones it tackles is related to prostate-based stimulation.
Yeah, this is where the chapter gives some really clear evidence-based info to counter misunderstandings.
So what's the main misconception it points out?
It's the idea, the linkage, that enjoying anal stimulation or stimulating the prostate somehow directly connects to homosexuality.
Ah, that old flawed logic. That interest in anal stimulation automatically means something about your sexual preference.
Exactly. And the chapter counters this directly by bringing in findings from actual sexual medicine research on prostate massage and stimulation.
Okay, so what does the research say?
Well, it explains the concept of prostatic massage-induced orgasm. It says this is physiologically possible.
So it's a real thing that can happen.
Yes. The source states clearly that achieving orgasm through prostate stimulation is achievable. And importantly, it results in a different type of ejaculation compared to, penile stimulation alone.
A different type. What does the source mean by that?
Well, the chapter clarifies it's not just based on what people report, like anecdotally. It's also based on objective measures.
Like what?
Like observable differences in pelvic floor muscle contractions during the orgasm.
Ah, the muscles down there involved in ejaculation and stuff.
Right. And the source emphasizes these objective measures to show there are distinct physiological outcomes.
And the absolutely crucial point here, based on the source,
is that these specific physiological responses, this capacity for this type of orgasm, they are documented outcomes that are completely unrelated to a person's sexual orientation.
Got it. So it dismantles the misconception by grounding it in the physical reality, the research findings. Separates the physiological response from identity or preference.
Precisely.
Okay. Now, beyond that personal stigma, the chapter also tackles another big issue in this market.
Which is?
False advertising. It points out those rampant, common, invalid claims you see everywhere, especially online.
Oh, yeah. You see them all the time. Promises that some device will magically help you last longer.
Which is such a complex issue, right? So many factors involved.
Or the biggest one, maybe the most misleading, that a toy or a pump can somehow grow your penis size permanently.
Yeah, that one's pervasive. And this source highlights the really negative impact of these false claims.
How so?
It says they cast disbelief and discrimination on other products as well. Think about the ripple effect there.
Right. If you get bombarded with these crazy promises that aren't true,
you lose trust. Not just in that specific dodgy product, but maybe in the whole category.
It makes it harder for the legitimate devices, the ones that might actually offer real benefits, maybe medical, maybe just enhancing pleasure, to be taken seriously.
Exactly. If you've been burned by some enlargement thing that did nothing, you're going to be skeptical of any sex toy, even one for a totally different, achievable purpose.
Like just enhancing sensation or providing some medical support.
Yeah. This misinformation, it creates a barrier, even for people looking for valid information or products.
That's a really important point the source makes. This false advertising isn't just annoying, it actively harms the credibility of the whole industry.
It makes it harder for people to find trustworthy stuff, even things that are like FDA cleared for medical use, which this chapter gets into later.
It just makes the whole space confusing and kind of perpetuates negative perceptions.
Precisely. Now, with that context set up, let's transition to exploring the actual variety of male sex toys themselves.
Okay, how the chapter categorizes them.
Yeah, the source breaks them down into several basic types, which helps give a clearer picture of what's actually out there.
All right, so what's the first major category the chapter discusses?
They call them sex simulators, but you probably know them more commonly as masturbation sleeves.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah. As the name suggests, their main purpose is enhancing masturbation. They're basically sleeves or cavities designed to fit around the penis.
To give different textures, sensations, tightness, that sort of thing during solo play.
Exactly. And the chapter mentions examples that are pretty well known, like the fleshlight or the Tenga egg.
Yeah, those often seem to be the first ones people encounter in this category.
And the design philosophy behind them, as the source describes it, is pretty interesting.
Oh, so?
These simulators are often engineered to look and feel similar to specific anatomical sites linked with sex.
Like the vagina, anus, or mouth?
Primarily, yeah. They use different internal textures, channels, materials to try and replicate those sensations.
And the source notes that trend, right, of adult film actors having toys modeled after their anatomy.
Yeah, taking that replication idea to a very specific level, it really emphasizes the goal of recreating particular experiences.
That detail is certainly specific.
Yeah.
Highlights the focus on realism in some products.
For sure. And the chapter gives some insight into how popular this category actually is.
What does it say?
According to sales analysis from Lovehoney, a big retailer cited in the source, these masturbation sleeves, or simulators, they're the most popular type of toy among men using them for solo use.
That makes sense intuitively. For men masturbating, these offer a direct enhancement. Sensations manual stimulation might not replicate.
Right. But the chapter also points out, while solo use might be most common, they can definitely be used with a partner too.
And it notes a potential medical application as well.
It does. For penile sleeves, studies have apparently indicated they might be helpful for guys dealing with premature ejaculation.
How would that work?
By potentially helping to reduce sensitivity, or maybe just providing a different kind of stimulus during intercourse. According to the source, they can be a tool in managing that common issue.
So not just for pleasure. The source indicates a possible therapeutic purpose too, which links back to the health aspects the book touches on.
Moving on, the chapter then groups several other types of devices together. It calls them tools for modifying penile sensation.
Okay, a bit broader. What falls into this category?
This includes things like vibrators, constriction bands often called cock rings, and also stimulating topical agents like creams or gels.
And the common thread, according to the source,
Is that they all work by producing a different type of sensation on or around the penis. Something distinct from just standard manual contact or penetration.
Okay, let's zero in on one of those. Constriction bands or cock rings, they seem pretty common.
They are, and their function is quite specific, according to the chapter. They're designed to be worn at the base of an erect penis.
Right, and their main mechanical job is to slow down blood flow from the penis.
Exactly. An erection happens when blood flows in. Keeping it means stopping that blood from draining out too quickly.
Okay, so by restricting the outflow, what does that actually do? The chapter notes a couple of effects.
Yeah, one is producing a different kind of sensation when stimulated, often described as feeling fuller or more pressure.
And the other, maybe more significant physiologically.
Is that it helps create prolonged erections by preventing what the source calls venous leakage.
Venous leakage. Basically, the veins letting blood leave the penis too fast, making the erection fade.
Precisely. And this function leads directly to some of the medical uses the source highlights.
Like what?
Well, constriction bands can be helpful for men who experience that exact issue, venous leakage. By physically restricting blood outflow, they can help them achieve and keep a longer-lasting erection.
One that might otherwise fade too quickly.
Right. The chapter also notes they can be useful for men whose erections are lost because of anxiety.
Ah, so if psychological factors are causing issues with rigidity?
The physical support and restriction from the band can help counteract that, at least according to the source's description.
So again, a tool many might just think of as recreational, but the chapter presents it as having specific therapeutic uses based on how it works.
Exactly. The next category the chapter describes is anal devices.
Seems pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, mostly. Their use involves stimulating the external and internal anal area.
And as we talked about earlier with the stigma,
The chapter notes that a significant focus for many of these, especially the internal ones, is prostate manipulation or stimulation,
Right. And the examples given are things like anal vibrators, butt plugs,
which are usually non-vibrating, more about fullness or stretching sensations.
and other non-vibrating things, maybe with different shapes or textures for internal or external massage.
Exactly. Finally, the chapter covers devices often called pumps, or more formally, vacuum erection devices.
Okay, these seem mechanically different from the others. How do they work, according to the source?
They operate by enclosing the penis in a cylinder, like a chamber,
Okay.
which is then sealed at the base, usually against the body. Then a pump, either manual or battery-powered, creates negative pressure, basically a vacuum inside that chamber.
Negative pressure, like suction.
Exactly. As the source explains, creating this negative pressure draws blood into the penis, causing it to become erect.
So their main purpose listed is erection enhancement, helping achieve or improve an erection.
That's right. And the chapter importantly lists increasing penile size during use as one of their functions.
Ah, okay. So it's crucial, as the source points out, to distinguish that temporary increase while the vacuum is on.
From those bogus claims of permanent growth you see in online ads.
Right. The pump helps maximize the penis's potential size in that moment by pulling blood in, but it doesn't make it grow bigger over time.
Correct. And these pumps are also often used together with those constriction bands we talked about.
How does that work?
You'd use the pump first to get the erection, then slide a constriction band from the cylinder's base onto the penis's base to help trap the blood and keep the erection after you remove the cylinder.
Ah, okay. That makes the connection between those two categories clearer. And the source mentions studies on these vacuum devices, too.
Yes, studies cited in the chapter showed a benefit not just for the user, but also in terms of sexual satisfaction outcomes for their partners.
That's an important perspective. The source includes that using these devices can actually positively impact the partnered experience, not just the individual.
Definitely. So when we kind of bring all these different device types together, it becomes really clear, based on the source material,
That male pleasure aids cover a whole range of functions, not just simple recreation.
exactly. And the chapter synthesizes this by discussing the various potential medical benefits linked to different devices,
Yeah, the source points out some are even FDA cleared.
which indicates a certain level of recognized medical use and safety standards. We've touched on several already.
Like vibrators being FDA cleared for stimulating erections and helping with ejaculation, especially noted for men with spinal cord injuries.
Right, who might have difficulty otherwise. And as we discussed, sleeves are mentioned as potentially helping manage premature ejaculation by changing sensation during intercourse.
Constriction bands are presented as useful for men with venous leakage, helping maintain erections, and also for those who lose erections due to anxiety, giving that physical support.
And vacuum devices, beyond helping the individual get an erection, are cited for improving partner sexual satisfaction.
So the source really emphasizes these aren't just toys in the recreational sense. They have documented, recognized applications that cross over into men's health and sexual function.
Absolutely. However, and this is a big however, while the source presents these potential benefits and uses, it also gives a really crucial piece of context about the research landscape.
What's that?
It states it pretty directly. The amount of rigorously developed research on sex toys is limited.
Oof. That's a key point to take in, isn't it?
It really is. Despite the billions in market value, the formal scientific study hasn't really kept pace with the commercial side or how widely they're used.
So that lack of rigorous research, it's important context for anyone trying to understand this topic.
Especially when you're trying to navigate those false claims we talked about. It means that while there's clinical experience and some studies exist,
A broad, deep, independent body of evidence across all products and applications, it's still kind of developing.
exactly. But the chapter doesn't just say limited research and leave it there. It actually does dive into the existing peer-reviewed studies it looked at.
To give some concrete data points and insights into usage patterns.
Yeah, snapshots from the current, maybe limited research base.
Okay, let's walk through some of those specific studies cited. What does the available data suggest about how common this actually is?
Well, the chapter mentions a nationally representative study from Australia back in 2003.
Okay.
That research found that 12% of men reported using a sex toy in the year before the study.
12%. So roughly 1 in 8 men in Australia that year.
Right. Then the chapter contrasts that with a different study, a random digit dial survey in Seattle in 2006. This one focused on sexually active adults aged 18 to 39.
And what did that find?
A higher frequency, It found that 20.3% of men use sex toys in a typical month.
Wow, okay. 12% yearly versus over 20% monthly. That's a big difference.
Yeah, and the source includes these different points to show how results can vary. Depends on the population general versus younger, urban sexual active group, and the time frame measured a whole year versus a typical month.
Suggests that for some men, usage might be quite frequent.
Seems like it. The chapter also cites a U.S. study from 2009 that focused just on vibrator use in men.
And what did that find?
A really substantial number. 44.8% of men reported having used a vibrator during sexual activity at some point in their lives.
Almost half. Almost half of men in that study had used a vibrator at some point.
Yeah. That number alone really challenges any idea that vibrators is just for women.
Right, definitely. Which seems to be a point the chapter reinforces.
And the source also mentions a national study about women, finding about 40% had used a vibrator with their partners.
So that specific note about partnered use for women gives another angle on how these devices fit into sexual practices, often involving interaction between partners.
Right. And linking these points, the chapter reinforces that idea that vibrators especially can be used by everyone.
Women, men, single people, couples.
And used by couples together. The source touches on those dynamics, like a man using it on his partner or the partner using it on him.
Yeah, sharing pleasure, changing the focus of activity, maybe.
And further backing up the idea that vibrator use is common among men, the chapter cites another study. This one's from the Center for Sexual Health Promotion at Indiana University.
Oh, what did that one find?
It found that 45% of men aged 18 to 60 had used a vibrator during sexual interaction.
45%. So similar number, broader age range.
Exactly. The chapter uses this to show that, according to this research, vibrator use seems pretty prevalent among men, even if sexual interaction is maybe a broad term.
Taken together, these numbers from the source, they really paint a picture of usage that's far from just a small niche.
Definitely not marginal. Now, towards the end of the chapter, the authors include this section called Interesting Observations.
Okay.
Which pulls out a few specific, maybe unexpected data points from the research or market analysis they looked at. Little glimpses into consumer behavior.
These are quite insightful, aren't they? What's the first one mentioned?
That sexy lingerie is bought by attached men and women at the same rate.
Huh. That is interesting. What might that imply, based on the source including it?
Well, maybe something about the shared nature of desire, or the mutual effort to enhance intimacy in relationships, regardless of gender.
Challenges the assumption that it's mostly bought by one partner for the other, suggests more balanced engagement, at least in terms of buying behavior cited.
Yeah. Another observation the chapter highlights is about women and anal sex toys.
What about them?
That women buy them at the same rate, specifically 23%, regardless of their relationship status.
23%, that's a significant chunk. And the consistency, regardless of relationship status, is notable.
It is. It might suggest a strong element of solo exploration or personal preference that exists independently of partnered dynamics.
So, for a good group of women, interest in anal stimulation seems like a personal thing, not solely tied to having a partner.
It seems that way, based on this data point. And finally, the chapter observes that single men buy male sex toys more often than attached men.
Including anal stimulation toys.
Right. This kind of aligns with that Love Honey data about sleeves being popular for solo use.
So the source, including this observation, might suggest what?
Maybe that while guys in relationships might focus more on partnered activities or devices used together,
single guys might be more inclined to explore a wider range of personal stimulation tools.
including things like anal stimulation toys,
Got it.
It's part of their solo repertoire. Different patterns of exploration based on relationship status, maybe? According to the data cited, anyway.
Okay, so pulling all of this together, the huge market, the evolution, addressing stigma, the different types, medical uses, the research situation, these specific observations, what are the absolute core takeaways Chapter 86 emphasizes for you, the listener?
Well, the chapter explicitly lists 3 key takeaways. They serve as a really concise summary.
What's the first one?
First, it just reiterates the massive size of the global industry and the rising popularity of male sex toy use. It adds that this is more common than you would suspect.
Which definitely resonates with those usage stats we talked about.
Totally. It underlines this isn't niche. It's a significant aspect of modern life and sexual wellness for a lot of people.
Okay, second key takeaway from the source.
Is that devices can indeed offer men sensations or stimuli they might not otherwise achieve, either on their own or through conventional means.
Speaks to the unique value proposition expanding the range of sensory experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the third takeaway is maybe the most action-oriented piece of advice.
Especially given the misinformation and limited research context.
Right. It advises that because there are so many types of toys and all these claims out there, men should carefully research the benefits and potential harms when considering expanding their sexual repertoire.
It's basically a call for informed decision-making.
In a space that can be really confusing, yeah.
That point about careful research seems critical. It empowers you, the listener, to navigate this space wisely.
Distinguish legitimate stuff from the invalid. Claims that, as the chapter notes, undermine trust.
Encourages a thoughtful approach, not just reacting to ads or social pressure.
Yeah. This whole deep dive into Chapter 86, it really brings to light this topic that's commercially huge, has fascinating design aspects, significant usage according to the data,
Specific potential medical benefit.
yet is simultaneously surrounded by stigma and, well, a relative lack of formal scientific investigation compared to its scale. It's a really complex picture.
And what's particularly thought-provoking, based on the chapter's framing, is exactly that tension you just mentioned.
Yeah.
This tens of billions dollar industry dealing with really personal aspects of health, pleasure, intimacy, but operating where formal scientific study is still described as limited.
Exactly. So, as a provocative thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on, what does that gap mean? The gap between widespread practice and commerce on one side and the relatively young state of rigorous scientific understanding on the other.
How does that affect how we get reliable information about sexual health and pleasure, particularly for men?
Right. How do you make informed choices? How do doctors even approach these discussions? The chapter doesn't pretend to have all the answers.
But it definitely highlights that fundamental challenge in this space, leaves you to ponder the implications. So we've just spent a good chunk of time unpacking the insights from just one chapter 86 of the 21st Century Man.
And as you can probably tell, even focusing on just one part of this book gives you a wealth of valuable fact-based information.
Stuff that can help clarify topics that might otherwise be confusing or subject to misinformation or maybe just not talked about openly.
Exactly. And the book itself, The 21st Century Man, it covers such a wide range of subjects relevant to men's lives, health, understanding.
We really do encourage you to explore the full book for more in-depth insights on this topic and, well, many others.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into Chapter 86.
We hope this conversation has given you a clearer, more informed understanding of what this source material presents about sex toys.
Join us next time on the 21st Century Man podcast, where we will continue our exploration of the book. We'll be taking a deep dive into the very next chapter.
That's going to Chapter 87, and the topic is everything you need to know about condoms and lubes.
We will see you then for another deep dive.
Take control of your health anytime, anywhere. Visit globalmenswellness.com and start your free trial today. Get expert-level answers in seconds, not weeks, without the cost, the wait, or the awkward conversations. Real support on your terms. Visit globalmenswellness.com now.